Hi, friend. Welcome to day 3 of our final week in this Letters of John study. Today we are looking at 3rd John, another letter, the last letter written by John the Elder we see here. Let's just go ahead and read and we'll dig in. All right, starting at verse 1. The elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health as it goes well with your soul. For I rejoice greatly when the brothers came and testified to your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in all your efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testified to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God. For they have gone out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support people like these, that we may be fellow workers for the truth. All right, I don't know why this letter is really touching my heart today. I feel like for all of my life, whenever I've read through the Bible through a year, I must have just really skimmed through this. There is something so beautiful about this letter. And it is a letter. It is a letter indeed. And we can ask that who question, who is involved here? And we see, obviously, it is the elder to the beloved Gaius. And he goes on to say, whom I love in truth. So the elder, we know this is John. And an elder, friends, here's how my Bible dictionary defined it. We saw this in the second letter of John, but I'm not sure if I gave a definition or not. Christian elder, an elder over an assembly of Christian believers as an appointed or elected position. And we know that John was appointed by Jesus Christ to be an elder over his church. We saw the same phrase in the second letter of John. The elder to the elect lady and her children, whom I love in truth. And we said for that second letter that John was writing to a church or the church, right? But here, this one is different. And I think we are absolutely blessed to have this letter, to be able to dig into it today. What an opportunity to see John's heart and care for a brother in Christ. Because this letter is written to Gaius. This is a personal letter from John to Gaius. Now, who is Gaius, we might ask? That's a good question. My Bible dictionary says he is the elder to whom John's third letter is addressed. And I just had to laugh out loud. Like, okay, here's what we know about Gaius. We don't know anything about Gaius aside from John wrote him this letter and he is beloved by John. And I think beloved in Jesus. Maybe we'll unpack that here in just a minute. Well, no, that was my next question. How is Gaius loved? I noticed that. I mean, this first phrase, this greeting just has love written all over it. And it's not even a Valentine. You know what I mean? The elder to the beloved Gaius. Now, beloved means a person dearly loved and cherished, whom I love in truth. And that love, we know, is to care deeply for. Here is to care with great affection. And in truth, we've already unpacked that in the second letter. The truth speaks to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And truth can be defined as conformity to reality or actuality, often with the implication of dependability. So truth is dependable. This truth that John is speaking of is the truth of Jesus Christ, the good news of Jesus Christ. All right, so how is Gaius loved? He is loved in truth. He is loved through this connection that he and John have through the love of Jesus Christ. And I would even argue that this idea of being beloved, this idea points to Gaius being beloved by Jesus and beloved by John. I mean, it's just a circle of love, a really, really beautiful thing. All right, as we've already mentioned, this is a personal letter to a person, to a friend, rather than to a church. And again, I can't get over, here is why my heart is touched today. What an opportunity we have to see John's heart for his fellow brother. And I mean, we also have an opportunity to learn something about Gaius, who also is caring for his fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, in the truth, right? So let me just jot down that this is what stood out to me. This is a great opportunity to see John's heart, the elder, as he cares for somebody that he, how do I want to put this? Somebody in his congregation that he is shepherding. Maybe shepherd would be a good word. Here's a beautiful example for us. And then we also have Gaius's example of how to love our brothers and sisters. But for some reason, I zeroed in on John and his heart today. What does John do? How does he care for Gaius? And number one, we see in verse 2 that John prays for Gaius. And I loved this, friends. I absolutely loved this. See John's primary concern. We've talked about in this book how our prayers are to, yes, we can pray for the physical things, but our prayers, we know how to pray for God's will according to the spiritual things. And we see John being concerned with that in his prayers here. Verse 2, Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health, as it goes well with your soul. To me, it just stood out that is the key phrase. That is the most important thing to John's heart, that it may go well with your soul. Now, for something to go well with, we see that phrase repeated twice here. That means to progress, to develop in a positive way. So John is saying, look, may you have good health. May all be well with you as your soul develops, as your soul progresses, right? As your soul develops and progresses in the truth of Jesus Christ. Isn't that beautiful, friends? I think it's stunning. And we can know without a shadow of a doubt that this is John's primary concern for Gaius. He says so in verse 4. He says this is his primary concern for all of his children. Look at verse 4. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. And we unpacked walking in the truth this week as well, right? Where did I make notes on that? Oh, I'm not seeing it right away. Here it's in the next point. Walking in the truth. Well, let me just turn back here. I'm not seeing it in my notes. I know I made some notes. It just shows I've got so many notes. But we saw this in verses 4 through 6, this idea of walking. This is to live, to walk, to live, or behave in a specified manner. In this case, according to the truth, which once again is according to Jesus Christ and the way of Jesus Christ, this way of love. All right, this is John's primary concern. And so this is what he prays for. This is how he prays for Gaius. all right, that this is his primary concern, that Gaius is healthy. That Gaius's soul is healthy, meaning his heart, his mind, his conscience is progressing in this way of Jesus Christ. Oh, friends, I am challenged in this, and I think we all ought to be challenged in our small groups, in our communities. How are we praying for one another? Is this our primary concern for one another? Yes, let's uphold each other's physical needs, but let's not do it by neglecting the most important thing, the need of our soul. All right. I love that this is John's example here to us in this beautiful letter. All right, that was the first thing I noticed, the way that John prays for Gaius. The second thing I noticed is how John rejoices. This is in verse 3. John rejoices about the testimony he has heard that Gaius is walking in the truth. Now, we just touched on and explained what walking in the truth means. But what does it mean to rejoice? Yes, this means to be happy. John is joyful. He is happy to hear this good news. This person that he is shepherding is, yes, he is walking in the truth. He is living it. He is behaving in the way of Jesus Christ, in the way of love. And what does John do? He rejoices. He celebrates this. I love that. I love that. I think for those of us who are shepherding others in the faith, here is, we can learn from this how to pray and how to rejoice and celebrate and really encourage. John, it has to be encouraging Gaius. As I was thinking about the main point for this lesson, I wrote down, John writes a personal letter to Gaius. We see John's heart for his friend. He prays, he rejoices, and the third thing that I'm going to say is he commends or he praises. And we do see Gaius's heart, but what I was thinking about is how special in the first century this must have been for John to take time, to take the resources to write a personal letter to Gaius. You know what I mean? So this has to be so encouraging to Gaius. All right, so that third thing that we see is found in verses 5 and 6. John praises Gaius for his love of fellow believers, specifically his act of welcoming strangers and caring for the needs of strangers. Friends, this is the teaching of Jesus, right? Matthew 25:35, for I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. This is Jesus's heart for us. And Gaius, we can learn from Gaius, gives us an example. Here is Gaius's heart. He is walking in this way. He is living it. He is doing it. He is showing love and kindness and goodness to strangers. Who are these strangers? These strangers are, as John says, working for the gospel in verse 8. That's the last verse there. They are workers for the truth. And obviously Gaius is supporting them and encouraging them. Friends, again, I just found this letter, or the beginning of this letter, so encouraging. Here's a window into John's heart for someone that he is shepherding, for someone that he deeply cares for. Over and over and over again, he refers to Gaius as beloved. Again, beloved by Jesus, loved and cherished by Jesus. And John loved and cherishes his friend Gaius. I think here for this day is a good place for us to do a heart check and look, okay, are we being hospitable? Are we being welcoming to our fellow believers who have need as Gaius is? But I think, and this is what challenged me most today, was to see John's example as an elder, how he is pouring into one that he shepherds through prayer, through rejoicing and celebrating with the one that he is shepherding, and by praising him and encouraging him. Oh, friends, my prayer was, Lord, help me to have a heart to encourage others similarly. And really, here is a heart of unity with Jesus and with one another. We see it here between John and Gaius and Jesus. There's this circle of unity, a circle of love, and it's a beautiful thing.